Not acceptable.
How do you differentiate between when a woman's being hysterical to you and when she actually genuinely does need you?
Here's the thing that's really interesting about delusion. The thing, and it is, well, hang on, it is a form of delusion. I'll explain. If you have a rush of hormones you would not normally have, right, it can make you crazy. You could do this with any human being on planet Earth. You could perhaps take a man, right, and rush him with all sorts of like positive male hormones, and they go fucking berserko, right, and possibly rip doors off handles, do crazy shit like that. The thing about delusion, which is so interesting, is that the person who's deluded doesn't know they're deluded. So you can't actually rationally, reasonably...
But how do you as her husband know when she's being delusional versus when she's like genuinely needing
just
you?
like I've been with her for years and years and years.
But what about as someone who's in a new marriage, let's say, or a new relationship?
Well, it's not hard to detect, usually for most men, that like, wow, this person was really cool 24 hours ago, and now they've lost their fucking mind.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Okay.
And they continue, and then wait, 4 days later, they seem like they haven't lost their fucking mind anymore. That's really odd.
But I think like as the woman who's going through something that you might consider delusional, and maybe she in the back of her mind does know realistically this is not something to blow up about. It's about having like a partner who understands.
They do blow up about it though.
Who?
That's the problem with the delusion, right? It's like if you're in the delusion, you don't know how bad you are.
No, I know, but eventually you cool off. It's like having a partner who has the empathy to like ride with you through that roller coaster of emotion. Because what you're saying is,
how is that empathetic? The empathy
because
towards,
it's something you said hormonal that you can't even change.
Where's the empathy the other direction? The empathy the other direction should be like, look, I'm literally Jekyll and Hyde, and when I turn into fucking Hyde, I want you to be empathetic. It's like, what the fuck is that? No, when you turn into Hyde, when you become the monster, right? From Dr. Jekyll, it's like the best empathy. The best empathy they have.
A pill on purpose to make it happen.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why you turn into Hyde. It doesn't matter why you turn into Hyde. It just matters that you do.
Well, so sometimes it does matter. Like if your wife, for example, is drinking heavily and she turns into Jekyll because of her drinking, that's a choice. But to have a period, it's not a woman's choice to have.
Yeah, but what would a man do in both situations? Same thing. Be like, well, you got to stop drinking so you don't turn into Hyde, right?
You can't stop having a period.
Right, but here's the thing that's interesting about that, right? You can't stop that. But it's actually maximum empathy for a man to be like, look, you don't get to treat me like shit, even if you can't help it.
I get that.
That's fucking bullshit.
Not to treat anyone not disagreeing.
Not disagreeing at all.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
not
correct.
There's boundaries, there's levels to it, but if the woman's not name calling, she's not, throwing things, she's not being extremely hysterical.
No, that's not it. That's not it.
There's
Listen,
a spectrum to it.
No. That's not just it. It also is like, you might not be making rational decisions, even if you're being nice to me, that you normally would make. You know what I mean? Things like that. It's not just a matter of like, you need to still be nice to me even when you turn into Hyde.
Yeah.
It's also, you're not allowed to make like big financial decisions, big decisions about this. You're not allowed to like, I don't know, embarrass me at a fucking party or something like you're not allowed to do any of those things.
Having boundaries around those things. I just would hope that, since you're married to a woman who can't help but have those things happen to her each month, that you would have some empathy for her situation, that she's not choosing to turn into the Jekyll.
But don't you understand, like, the biggest amount of empathy is exactly the idea of, like, I'm still going to listen to you because I know, right? Somewhere in me, I know that this is not, even though I can't quite detect it, like most women can't, they don't know when they're in it, that they're in it, right? Even though they kind of do, right? They kind of do. They can't.
In the moment,
really,
it's hard.
Right, exactly.
To admit.
It's hard to admit, and it's even hard to like deal with, right? So, isn't the best thing to do from the empathetic level to deal with a rational person, guiding you through that, to be like, look, you're out of control. Stop, and you actually listen. Like, imagine that.
Yeah, no.
I think it works both ways, too.
Yeah.
Having a good partner that has your back like that.
Got to
absolutely.
move it on just a little bit here. I did want to come back just for a moment before we have to do a couple chats here. Just going around the table, when I was talking about, well, it's with the double standard, well, it's easier for women to get laid, harder for men to get laid. Do you guys agree with that?
I think it's easier for women to get laid, for sure, especially with the apps.
Yeah.
Got it.
Agree.
Yeah, agreed.
Agree.
Any disagree? Agreed?
I'm iffy on it.
You disagree?
I agree that I understand why it's considered an achievement for men to like have more body counts, but it doesn't explain why like it's despised that women have more body count. Like it's like a different thing.
Yeah, well,
it's not only-
we kind of talked about it, but I think Andrew got into it with. Did you bring up paternity uncertainty or
they find it
uncertainty?
it's a matter of revulsion. So men find it more revolting than women.
Wait, she was asking why.
Literally find it more revolting. So, at its root, you're asking a fine question. So you're saying, okay, I get it that there's a higher achievement, right? A higher achievement level. That's why men would honor that over a woman who has a no achievement level because she can just open her legs and 100 men will run in, right? But what about the revulsion level? If one sex is less revolted by an activity than another sex, right? How do you reconcile that? Like, what do you do about that?
Revolting meaning disgusting?
Yeah. They just find it more disgusting than the other sex does.
You mean men find that more revolting?
They find it more disgusting when women have a higher body count than women find it disgusting when men do.
Why is this so? I hear.
I think it's rooted.
It's more of like a cultural thing.
But I don't think it's
right?
cultural.
I actually have something really good on this. Would you agree that women will find physical weakness in men as less attractive than men finding physical weakness in women? Does that make sense?
No.
So okay, when it comes,
he asked it wrong.
Yeah.
Well, okay, the trait of physical weakness.
Yeah.
Men are going to be very forgiving of physical weakness
In women.
Yeah.
However,
Maybe prefer it.
Sometimes.
sure. Whereas I think physical, like demonstrable physical, like imagine a 5-pound weight and the guy's like struggling to lift a 5-pound weight or something like that. I know that's an extreme example, but women are going to find physical weakness, I think, much more unattractive
than men.
Does that make?
It depends on
does
the
that make-
person,
does
because
that
I
make
know
sense?
women who
We're
love
not
a
asking you-
lanky boy.
Listen.
You know,
There's no example you could ever give about anything on planet Earth where we couldn't say it depends on the person.
Yeah.
We could talk about
Sure,
murder.
exactly.
We could talk about murder. We could talk about theft. We could talk about the most immoral. We could talk about incest. It depends on the person. Doesn't actually help us with this, right?
Yeah.
If we're looking at it from a social scale, we would have to look at it at the social scale of how these sexes generally seem to respond to this. Is it the case that, generally speaking, at least in all of your experiences, you would definitely prefer to have a man who is at least stronger than you?
I mean, that depends. We're in 2025, so you're not building me a house, you're not building me a hut, you're not fighting off saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah, but all of
you
that-
are.
But
going,
all of those same reasons, like the building the hut and the fighting off the saber-tooth tiger and this and that, would be rudimentarily why it was that women were attracted to that to begin with.
Yeah.
It's built
Back
in
in the day.
biologically. Well, no, it's
Well,
just
kind of back in the day. You still had tribes where there was women that were the
Yeah.
warriors too. So
Yeah.
I know you can do the
not
this,
really.
that.
Not really, but even
Police-
then,
yeah, you
no,
had the
there really
warrior.
wasn't.
So even with
Yeah, there were tribes that
periods
had the
and-
warriors that were women. But that's
and weakness
Not really.
and all of these things.
There really wasn't that many tribes where there was women.
We still-
warriors.
I didn't say there was that many. I just said that there was.
I don't think so.
It's dubious.
It is very the anthropological evidence is very